Good evening and welcome, everyone. Today is August 13th, 2024. I am Phil Santonzi. I'm the program chair for ASQ Section 1510 here in Southeast Florida. Welcome and thanks for joining us today. You will receive an email in the next couple of days verifying the RUs, the recertification units for tonight's virtual presentation. As a reminder, also, anyone can join our LinkedIn group, which is ASQ Southeast Florida Section 1510, to stay updated on the events and activities of our section. During this presentation, please keep your audio muted unless you do have a question, and I'll leave it to Monique whether she'd like to answer the questions as they come up or wait till the end. So our speaker tonight is Monique Akonbi. Thanks for being here, Monique. Monique is the Membership Initiatives Director for the Society for Human Resource Management, the SHRM, SHRM, as many of us know it. Monique is a certified HR professional with broad-based experience in senior leadership in all aspects of HR. As a strategic change agent credited with decreasing employee turnover and increasing employee engagement and satisfaction, Monique has over 15 years of HR experience. This has been in various HR leadership roles, including Vice President of People and Culture. Currently with SHRM, the world's largest HR association, she activates SHRM's comprehensive strategy and initiatives to attract, retain, and maximize the satisfaction of over 330,000 members and communities in the communities that SHRM serves. I know Monique as a volunteer for the Sterling Council. She's a master examiner and mentor with the Sterling Board of Examiners, visiting organizations throughout Florida and Georgia across all industries to assess their leadership systems and organizational performance using the Baldrige Sterling Performance Excellence Model. As a high-energy creative thinker, team builder, and problem solver, Monique has a passion for service and assisting others in their purpose, potential, and professional development through meaningful connections. Tonight, Monique will be discussing artificial intelligence, harnessing its powers, and embracing its challenges. Monique, thank you very much for being here, and welcome to our group.
Phil, thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone. It is truly an honor to be here with you all. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you about a topic that is at the forefront of every leader, every organization's discussion, and that is artificial intelligence. And also, how do we ultimately harness the power of artificial intelligence while continuously embracing the challenges? What I will share with you is that although today is August 13th and we are discussing artificial intelligence, I can guarantee that within a week, things will change. That is how rapidly things are changing as it relates to the area of artificial intelligence. But as Phil shared, I am the Membership Initiatives Director with SHRM, and for over 75 years, we have shaped the past, present, and future of the workplace. We have done that. Our mission is to create better workplaces for ultimately a better world, and we do that through multiple ways, whether that is advancing HR practices and maximizing human potential, driving social and economic change in the workplace, advocating on legislation that impacts workplaces, or even fostering environments that serve not only just businesses, but employees equally. So if we think about the workplace today and what the workplace has looked like, whether that is a traditional brick and mortar or what we have seen over the last few years, which was an increase in a hybrid working environment. If we think about the workplace altogether, it has changed tremendously. The way we get work done, the way we collaborate with each other. We have truly become more of a global organization, or a global world in terms of how we connect or even recruit talent, right? And also the way that technology has impacted the look of our workplaces as well. And there's a term that was originated from the military, which is VUCA. And if we think about the workplace today, we experience VUCA often, right? We experience volatility, meaning that it is we are experiencing fast, unpredictable change without clear patterns or trends. Think about artificial intelligence now, right? As we were during the networking session, just kind of talking about how we're utilizing artificial intelligence, ways that we have incorporated this tool into not only just our work in our professional lives, but also even in our personal lives as well. And that has changed rapidly. There's a lot of uncertainty that we've had to deal with in the workplace, right? So frequent disruptive changes. There was discussion around plagiarism. How do we utilize or how do we manage artificial intelligence and balance that without plagiarism, right? I speak to a lot of my colleagues now, where even in academia, right, they've had to adopt disclosures or disclaimers around the use of artificial intelligence for students. Even in the workplace, I've had a colleague of mine that was recruiting for a director, and ironically, she had two candidates that submitted the exact same work sample. The likelihood was that they both utilized artificial intelligence to be able to do that. So there's a lot of uncertainty around how we incorporate artificial intelligence within the workplace. And then the complexity of it all, right? You have the computer component. You also have the human component of artificial intelligence. And then how has that evolved throughout the workplace? And then there's the ambiguity of little clarity around what's real or what's true. And so we think about the workplace today and how artificial intelligence has really impacted that. It has really heightened a VUCA environment. And so when we see VUCA in the workplace, there are three major components. The very first one being technological, and we see that through artificial intelligence. Organizational changes, the complexity and the volatility of the way our organizations have changed, whether that is a hybrid work environment or restructuring the way organizations are structured. There is VUCA that has been that's VUCA in the workplace as it relates to the organization. And then if you think culturally, there's a lot of VUCA as it relates to organizational culture as well. What does that look like today? But for our time today, just in terms of setting the stage as it relates to artificial intelligence, we first must understand AI, right? And there's various components of artificial intelligence. There is artificial narrow intelligence, and that is typically when a task is performed with smartness or maybe speech recognition. I think back to a little over 20 years ago when I was a customer of Sprint at the time. I believe it was Sprint mobile cell phone. And honestly, I left Sprint because I got tired of Claire. And Claire was the automated voice that I would receive whenever I had a question around my account or a question about my bill. And if you think about it, I just wanted to speak to a human being. I just wanted to speak to someone. So I would get so upset, and poor Claire would get the attitude from Monique, right? But if you think about artificial narrow intelligence, where I speak or there's a prompt and they follow that prompt, it's not predictive. It is very specific to, if you have a question about your bill, you can speak. There are scripts that the computer responds to, and it doesn't think beyond what it has been programmed to respond to. And then there's the space of Gen AI, which is artificial general intelligence. And this is where it's a little ramped up, where its smartness and its effectiveness now becomes to improve. It learns from information that has been input into the system, but then it's able to predict items, right? It is able to then take it a step further rather than following just the very specific scripts that have been utilized or in terms of creating the program. And then it gets a little scary, but we're not there yet. We've seen it in some areas, which is artificial superintelligence. And that is a sophisticated system to where it emulates a human being. So if you think about robots, or you think about some of the movies of the past where there were robots that were operating as human beings. That is artificial superintelligence. But what we've seen in the workplace today is primarily Gen AI, which is artificial general intelligence. And so for our time together, that is what I'm going to speak to. If at any time you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself or chat. It's a little challenging whenever there's a virtual presentation because I like to engage. I always say that although I'm the presenter, collectively, there is a lot of brain power together. And so if there's any questions or any clarification or any comments that you have, please feel free to unmute yourself to ask your question or just stop me and I'll be more than happy to continue on or to respond to your question. But in terms of getting to know artificial intelligence, there are three fundamental building blocks of artificial intelligence. There is the natural learning process of AI, where AI enables AI to comprehend and generate human text and spoken word. So we think about the artificial narrow intelligence that I just spoke about, right? So there's that natural learning process where it is able to generate human text and in spoken word. Then there's machine learning, where it uses data and algorithms to imitate the way humans learn. And this is where you see Gen AI, generative AI, being utilized in order to make decisions or predictions. And I'll share a couple of examples of how that has been used in the workplace. And then there's data sources. AI relies on stores of data originating from different sources, and that means human beings, right? And so a computer doesn't generate all of this data by itself. There's programmers that provide this data and this information, so that way it creates those algorithms within the system to be able to make those predictions or provide outputs based on what the system is being requested to do. But what we know is that artificial intelligence cannot stand alone. Artificial intelligence plus human ingenuity equals return on investment. And so the thought is that generative AI tools excel certain tasks while lagging in other areas that require that human touch, right? That human ingenuity. And I believe someone was sharing a little earlier during the networking session around not completely or solely relying on the output of artificial intelligence, right? So it can't be just, this is what AI has generated and we're going to take that as word, right? It is a tool used to excel some of the work that you do. However, it shouldn't be the sole resource that you use in terms of the work that you are performing. So what we know is that artificial intelligence plus human ingenuity, because artificial intelligence cannot stand alone, really equals that return on investment. So humans and AI today, there was a SHRM conducted research a while ago, and we wanted to know how are individuals utilizing artificial intelligence within the workplace. And what we found is that 35% of US workers believe that their jobs will require the use of AI as an aid. Not a replacement, but as an aid. Again, going back to excelling the work that you're doing. 23% of US workers believe that they will be displaced by AI or automation in the next 2 years. And my president and CEO, Johnny C. Taylor Jr., has given a plethora of interviews around artificial intelligence. And actually, Sherm hosted our first AI plus HI project earlier this year on Microsoft property, where we really brought thought leaders in to discuss artificial intelligence. What is the impact in the workplace? And one of the things that has been focused is that artificial intelligence, or that has been really discussed, is that artificial intelligence is not going to replace it. While it may replace some positions, it is a threat to those individuals that are not willing to learn artificial intelligence. That is where, if you don't focus on embracing the use of artificial intelligence or even learning how it functions, that is where there's going to be kind of a threat in terms of job security as it relates to specific positions. But what we also know is that 50% of US workers reported that their performance would be optimized with AI tools. We were just discussing in our breakout group where someone has used artificial intelligence to plan their trip. I was sharing one of my colleagues earlier today. We were talking, and she took a 3-week trip to London, France, and also to Italy. And she used artificial intelligence to plan out her entire itinerary, right? So if you think about the use of travel agents or all of the research that she probably would have done without the use of artificial intelligence to create an entire travel itinerary. And that is used even in the workplace, right? We see artificial intelligence used to even create presentations or even an outline. I have used artificial intelligence just to kind of help build an outline for a presentation that I was creating. Not this presentation, but other presentations as well. And I have other examples of where individuals, even job descriptions, I'm in the human resources space. And so I have seen some of my colleagues that have used artificial intelligence to create a job description where it may have taken them hours, maybe even a half a day to create, where it, in a matter of seconds, it provided them with a framework to use in terms of a job description. And so we also, based on the research, saw that 57% of US workers believe that AI will enhance their workplace experiences for the better. Now we're able to utilize this data and information to make predictive or to utilize or to have predictive analytics, right? Even around the employee experience. How do we streamline processes as it relates to some of our key processes at work, and utilize artificial intelligence to be able to do that? And so the value of artificial intelligence in the workplace is that, one, artificial intelligence will manage disruption and empower innovation. Work is where markets, people, and disruptive technologies intersect with challenges of human intelligence. And as generative AI becomes more integrated into our daily lives, we'll learn how to lock potential or spark innovation and discern unique human qualities from artificial intelligence. We'll be able to do that. Also, it will augment the power of people to drive the world forward. So to flourish in in AI era, we must rethink work, worker, and the workplace, reimagining a world of work where human intelligence and ingenuity are upskilled and not replaced. And so that goes back to the individuals learning about artificial intelligence, or learning how to incorporate artificial intelligence in the work that they do. And then also, artificial intelligence will engender a culture of change and invest in human catalysts. And so studies show human catalysts are key to successful AI integrations, and that organizations must invest in their people to empower their mindsets, their skill sets, and their tools to drive change and be responsible workplace and responsible workplace transitions. So as the world evolves, as organizations evolve, how do we embrace the power of artificial intelligence in the workplace and really see the value that it brings? So there are a few strengths and limitations with artificial intelligence, and that is with every component of the workplace or the work that we perform, right? And so tasks that can be performed utilizing generative AI is one, streamlining interactions with business software, generating text or answering questions going back to ChatGPT or chat bots that are used to be able to provide text. Artificial intelligence can also be used to generate images. I was sitting through a presentation earlier this year where the presenter shared an image that was created, and there was an art show or art competition that was hosted, I believe, somewhere in the Midwest. And the image or the art that won, and I forgot the amount that the image won, but it wasn't an image that was created by a human being. It was actually an image generated utilizing artificial intelligence. And so we're starting to see even where artificial intelligence is used to generate images or music or even videos. Also, it will refine and enhance the style, coherence, and the quality of existing content. Going back to the example that I used about job descriptions, I played around with the ChatGPT where I entered in just a prompt. I am looking to hire an executive director for a small nonprofit, someone who is innovative and forward thinking. And then it generated this really attractive job description that honestly, if I would have seen that posted, I would have applied for it as well, right? So it wasn't the traditional job descriptions that or job posting that you see as well. And then generative AI also summarizes and classifies text, right? And so it retrieves and presents enormous amounts of information quicker than the human can do it, right? And so how do we utilize this to save on some of the time or streamline some of our processes? But generative AI also has limitations, and that it is limited in critical thinking. It has low emotional intelligence, although it may seem like it has some component of emotional intelligence. It is not the equivalent of emotional intelligence that is produced by a human being. There are also some challenges with mathematical functions. Again, these are systems that are being programmed by human beings, by individuals, and so we can't solely rely on the data or the output of the use of generative AI. Also, there are opportunities and risks with generative AI. Those opportunities are increasing productivity and efficiency. How do we improve or ways to improve decision making, utilizing the data to synthesize or really aggregate large quantities of data and really provide those algorithms or predictive analytics that will help you make an informed decision. It will also increase innovation and growth within our organizations, improve the workplace safety, and then also inclusion as well. So it will be inclusive, but also generative AI has risks. And one of the biggest risks is that generative AI still has biases and discriminations. Again, this is information that is being entered by human beings. There are also risks that it could be false data or cybersecurity and privacy challenges or even ethics around it. And I'll talk a little bit more about that further on in our presentation. But ways that generative AI is used in the workplace is one, content creation. It is a way for you to create content. A lot of marketing teams utilize generative AI to create content, to develop white papers, again, using that as a framework, but not taking exactly what generative AI or AI has produced and then using that as the content, but really saving time to provide that framework. Also, spam detection. It helps. Most employers are likely using AI text classification abilities to scan email and identify text patterns that indicate spam attacks. And so sometimes when you get some of those emails that are likely spam or phishing emails, oftentimes employers are utilizing AI components to be able to pick up on those or really detect that this is the likelihood of this being spam or phishing email. It also is used in text summarization, right? Being able to summarize text. We were just talking about a little earlier how Microsoft Teams and also Zooms has been used. They utilize artificial intelligence to take verbal meetings and be able to transcribe meeting notes or summarize text. I was sharing with our breakout group that I utilize Google Messenger for my text messages on my phone. And recently, when I updated my phone, I saw a new component, which is Google Gemini, which is artificial intelligence. And so I can use that to brainstorm or provide, maybe I need to write I have to write a difficult text to someone. I can utilize artificial intelligence to be able to do that, even in text messages. And then machine translation in terms of multinational companies using this technology to quickly translate either email or presentations and other documents into multiple languages to enhance internal communication. So there are a few occupations where generative AI these roles are exposed to disruption from generative AI. If we look at in the business and legal world, if you think about purchasing agents or compensation specialists or market research analysts, a lot of these professions utilize artificial intelligence to be able to perform some of the work that the human would perform. So we've seen where it has impacted the business and legal sector. It has also impacted writing and editing as well. So if you think about writers or authors or reporters, where you can now utilize generative AI to produce some of this or produce this text. We also have seen AI impact the world of sales. So sales agents or telemarketers or travel agents as well. I shared the example of creating the whole itinerary when you're traveling, right? So we've seen where some of these fields or some of these sectors have been impacted by artificial intelligence. But again, we've also seen where these sectors have embraced it and used those opportunities to streamline some of their work processes and upskill these professions to be able to take their sector to the next level. And there are a few workforce skills that will increase the importance, that will increase in importance due to generative AI. And some of those are continuous learning, adapting to rapidly evolving landscape of artificial intelligence. Creativity, so harnessing that human creativity that surpasses AI generative capabilities. Again, although there are components of AI that have creativity, it is unmatched to that human ingenuity. And so how do we harness and really leverage that human creativity as well as artificial intelligence to take it to that next level? There are certain skills that will decrease in importance due to generative AI. And one of those is writing and basic content creation, right? Where generative AI can produce routine textual, visual, and multimedia content. Research, where generative AI will automate preliminary stages, including data gathering or basic analytics. Also simple data analysis, where AI will browse in data processing may decrease the demand for basic data analysis. And so we've seen where in some of the professions or some of the workforce skills where it will increase in importance, but also in the workforce skills where it will decrease in importance. And so if we think about how AI will change your work, it will change your work in three ways. And I've shared this a little earlier, where jobs will be automated. Jobs will also will be augmented, right? So the traditional or the former way of a position being designed or developed may change because of the use of artificial intelligence. And then also jobs will be transformed utilizing artificial intelligence as well. And so it's going to from transformation of traditional roles in the sense of automation, augmentation, or transformation. And so the impact of AI in the workplace is a shift of an organizational mindset. Oftentimes, when I talk to individuals or I ask how many of you have utilized AI, the response I often get is, "Oh my gosh, I'm afraid to use it. I don't want to break anything. I'm unsure. There's fear that is associated with the use or integration of AI." And so the impact of AI in the workplace in terms of shifting the organizational mindset is how do we utilize AI to decentralize AI decision making? How do we automate or create autonomous project teams that will be formed utilizing artificial intelligence? How do we create or gamify work environments, especially in the environment that we're in? I have a 15-year-old son, and if anything isn't game related, or if we don't create a game with it, his interest level decreases. So how do we create great gamified work environments or virtual reality workspaces now that we've become a global we have global collaboration where we may have team members in a different state or a country that we work with within our organizations. And so there are a few tools that are commonly used for generative AI. I share Gemini, which is a Google tool that is used. There's also ChatGPT. There's Copilot. There's Kajabi. There's Fetcher. There's so many tools related to artificial intelligence or artificial intelligence tools that you can use. And my challenge or encouragement to you is that you play around with some of these, right? You won't be able to break it. And so it'll open up an opportunity or a window of opportunity for you to really understand, one, how AI functions, but two, how can you incorporate the use of artificial intelligence within your workplace? And so SHRM earlier this year released an artificial intelligence toolkit. We wanted to make sure that our members are prepared or had the resources available. And what we did is we really researched organizations that utilize artificial intelligence in some of their work processes or hiring processes. And so we saw where Amazon used AI for hiring and recruitment optimization. So rather than going through 1,000 resumes or job applications, we saw where artificial intelligence was used to recruit and hire team members. Also, IBM's HR team saved 12,000 hours of work over 18 months utilizing artificial intelligence. And Cigna filled 65 of its open positions or open roles with internal candidates by using artificial intelligence to recruit, by being able to do a skills assessment of your internal workforce and being able to then pair them up or identify some of those internal promotion opportunities or transfer of position opportunities as well. But with AI, there are biases. And so mitigating biases in AI will be important. And so employers that are considering using artificial intelligence powered tools in the workplace really should consider taking some of the following actions. And that is to continue human review of AI assisted decision making. Again, AI cannot stand alone. So making sure that you are continuing to use or utilize that human review. Implement disclosures and informed consent when necessary and appropriate when you're utilizing artificial intelligence in some of your processes. impose tight controls on data access when utilizing artificial intelligence, and then work with vendors that take an inclusive approach to the design. There are many vendors that are out there that are creating artificial intelligence tools that organizations may use. So really being sure that you are working with your vendors to ensure that there are no biases or discriminations incorporated in the use of the artificial intelligence tools. And then we
Monique,
also, yes,
could I ask a question?
absolutely.
I was just wondering, have you noticed whether certain industries are, I guess, are trending much higher than others? I mean, I'm just thinking like the food industry, right?
Mhm.
Where the minimum wage is like $20. I mean, I'm seeing the stalls, but I haven't seen the robots and the AI person on the other side yet. But I'm sure we're not too far from that.
Right. So your question, Mariel, are there specific industries where we see the use of generative AI?
Like is there like what industry do you see as higher and fast forwarding in comparison to others? Because I'm sure like medical device will probably be a little bit more cautious than someone say, like I said, in the food industry.
Yeah. So we see it definitely in the healthcare industry, not only just in like hospitals or use of the healthcare technology, but even healthcare organizations. If we've also seen where employee benefits organizations like United Healthcare or Humana have utilized artificial intelligence to make predictive analytics in terms of benefit plans that are designed or care as well. We've seen an increase in technology, and then also in the financial industry as well. What we've seen industries where there is a high level or a high focus on analytics or data analytics is where we see the primary use of artificial intelligence.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And so artificial intelligence also in terms of primary concerns around intellectual property in artificial intelligence, right? And so if we think about use of employees, how do we balance or making sure that we balance the use of artificial intelligence, what we define as intellectual property, maybe something that has been created or designed or developed by your employees or even by yourself, versus items that have been created or designed utilizing artificial intelligence, and whether that is ChatGPT or Magic Design. And so who owns that content? We're starting to see where organizations are really trying to identify, and honestly, our entire nation is really, there's several states where legislation is pending around artificial intelligence and intellectual property, as well as biases as well. And so we're still navigating through artificial intelligence, not only as a country, but as a world. And so that's why I say today, August 13th, I may be sharing something with you that may be outdated next week, right? So as we learn, as we navigate through this new world of artificial intelligence, we are learning more and more day by day. And then there's a few resources that I wanted to be able to share with you, and then also give an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you have. But again, these are a few resources that will be included in the presentation that you'll be able to click on that link and be able to utilize some of these resources. I also shared the AI in the workplace toolkit that we provided or created or developed actually at SHRM to be able to really help organizations navigate through the use of artificial intelligence. And so if there is one thing that I would leave you with during our time together is that artificial intelligence isn't going anywhere. Honestly, it's been around for years and years and years. It's been over 40 years, the first use of artificial intelligence. We're just now seeing the sophistication of artificial intelligence being integrated into our work. And so my encouragement to all of you is to embrace artificial intelligence intelligence, it is not going anywhere. It's here to stay. But to know that artificial intelligence cannot stand alone, it needs human ingenuity. And so because it needs human ingenuity, that is where you play an important part as it relates to how you will integrate artificial intelligence within your organizations and ultimately take your organization to the next level. And so I love to connect with you. This is my contact information, but I also wanted to open it up for any questions that anyone may have, or other ways that you have utilized artificial intelligence in your workplace that hasn't been shared during the networking portion.
Hey,
Hello,
Monique,
Monique. This is Alberto Suarez.
Hey.
Oh, just I wanted to thank you, for such a great presentation. I didn't have experience, going through a lot of it, kind of like some of the foundational things. And totally agree, right? I mean, when it comes to, definitely, right? I mean, you feel like it's a threat, but I mean, it should be something, to kind of utilize it, right?
Right.
I have some friends that sometimes, say, well, I don't need to study because I can get everything, from ChatGPT or other things, right? It's like, I don't think so, right? Because how do you, if you don't know, how do you know that what you're getting is right? And when I've used it, I have distinguished, some things, that doesn't sound, and obviously, you kind of tweak things here and there. For right now, you cannot just trust everything, right? It's very handy for formulas in Excel. I use a lot of them. So, when sometimes instead of going to YouTube or Google, some of the functions, how to use it, you basically state a problem on ChatGPT. I have two columns. I want to add, both of them, et cetera, and it'll give you the result. If you're coding, you can do it in Python as well. So, but it's also limited, on the amount of rows that you can enter data. So that's kind of the other thing too, right? So it has, advantages, disadvantages, but like you said, right? At this point, you're better off learning it, embracing it, and just moving forward, right? Thank you.
And not solely relying on it, to your point, Alberto, right? So making sure that you are incorporating that human intelligence or human ingenuity into it.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions?
It's Rakesh from Section 1058. No question, but somebody has the questions about the industry. I have experienced the translation is almost going away. The whole industry is doing 90% using AI, and they're doing only 10%. What Monique mentioned is the human touch and certification. So big transformation is happening in that industries.
Right. But we also will need that human component, right? Because AI is limited even in emotional intelligence, right? So it's a fine balance.
Yeah.
Monique, I've seen, I'm sure you have too, I've seen some of the AI that's used to determine, for plagiarism purposes, to determine how much of original writing is original writing. And
Yes.
and it's pretty neat. I don't know if anybody else has seen it, but I saw Zero GPT used, and I tried it out for myself a couple of times. And it identifies what percentage of the composition probably came from an AI generated source. And it's amazing, how they can do that. I don't know if you have any other perspectives on that, if you've seen that in any way.
Well, and we've seen that even in our intellectual property as well, right? So not only just plagiarism, but when someone is at an organization, like at what point does it become intellectual property?
Other questions or comments about AI?
Well,
I think
I'd like
that
to
one of the trends currently is to prompting. I work in the healthcare, and I do research and et cetera, and that's kind of what is a lot of friends and other colleagues have been really focusing on prompting. So the better you prompt, you better you define what is it that you're looking for, the better outputs you'll get.
Yeah, and it saves on time. I mean, if you think about it, I was conducting strategic planning with an organization sometime last year, and although there was pre-work, we were evaluating their mission and vision statement. And so there was pre-work that was done prior to us meeting in person. And then we all got in the room together. So we took everyone's responses and we're trying to develop, okay, like what and settle on what is the mission and the vision. And so after 30 minutes of going back and forth and, listening to everyone, one of the attendees said, well, I just put our current mission statement in Chat GPT, and this is what it recommended. And I will tell you, with the exception of maybe an edit of a word or two, within minutes we were able to really settle on a vision and a mission statement. And so if you think about the amount of time prior to the use of artificial intelligence it would have taken for us to go around and around to get to a statement that everyone really could buy into, that saved us so much time. And what I've learned as well is even when utilizing artificial intelligence is the more descriptive you can be in terms of what you're looking for, the better output you're going to receive. And so as specific as you can be in your prompts, the better output you're going to receive.
Absolutely.
No, I totally agree with that last statement there, Monique, because I know in the little that I've played around with Chat GPT, I would go in and ask a question and get a response and say, okay, that's pretty good. But then I would ask the same question a different way and get something dramatically different. So
Yes.
you have to be very careful. And I love
Yes.
what you said. You put the information in, but don't just accept it, right? You have to analyze it, and there's some good stuff there. There's some nuggets there that are great, but at the same time, there's some stuff there that may not be what you're looking for, or don't let it mislead you, I guess is what I'm saying. At the same
Right.
time, it's a tool. It's not a replacement for your brain. So
There you go. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. I mean, we've seen artificial intelligence used for career development for employees in the HR space, where it has provided predictive analytics on the probability of someone being successful in a role based on their current skill set and then the required skill set for a position. And then it generates an entire development plan that the individual can use that will set them up for success or prepare them for the role that they're pursuing. So there's a ton of ways that you can utilize artificial intelligence really and truly to leverage what you're doing within your organization.
and just look at the auto industry with the self-driving cars. There's a lot of artificial intelligence there, and
Yeah.
we're still refining it. It's not perfect, but it's
Yes.
a lot further than it was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and in that auto industry, it's really true that that the vehicles that are autonomous really have to depend on common situations. Whether have they seen it before? Is it part of the training that they go through? Because if they don't work that well in a totally new situation,
Correct.
that they just can't recognize. So that shows some of the still the opportunities for improving AI, that are still needed.
Well, and I think it just proves that, again, it can't stand alone, right?
Right.
Yeah. We can't replicate as much as we try to. I think artificial intelligence is probably as close as we'll get in terms of replicating the human mind or the human brain. Nothing can be replicated to that or compared to it.
The
Okay,
first vehicle I
ahead.
saw, an autonomous vehicle prototype,
Mhm.
had so much computational power in it that it filled the entire trunk hub with the computer required to process the data. There's so massive amounts of data. So I would imagine that they are trying to use some forms of tools related to artificial intelligence I'll just say as a high level description, to reduce the amount of computational power required. I mean, it was so incredible. I just was blown away by it. Of course, it's kind of an old story.
I want to thank you very much, Monique,
Thank
for
you.
coming here and giving us this great information about AI. You know, it's relatively new to many of us. Some of us haven't tried it yet. Some of us have, but there's still a lot of experimenting going around. I think you know, even tonight, you know, you mentioned Kajabi and Fetcher. I had never heard of those before. I've heard about a bunch of them, but never those. Those are new names for me. So you know, a couple more places to try and experiment to see what that's like. Go
Phil,
ahead.
that's a point a good point you make, is that what we're also seeing is this explosion of vendors in the AI space as well. So be mindful even of that as well, because we are, you know, organizations or startups, they see this as an opportunity. So then now there's this explosion of a creation of AI tools or software that are being sold to organizations. So do your due diligence when you're evaluating a
Yeah.
system that incorporates artificial intelligence. Again, exercise that human ingenuity, but be also very diligent when you're assessing these organizations, because we're now starting to see companies and startups come out of the woodworks as it relates to creating software.